The Lakers are apparently on the hunt on the trade market, and Anthony Davis is not expected to go anywhere, at least not to Atlanta, and the overrated debate is officially on fire. We're going to be looking at Bleacher Report's top 5 overrated players in the NBA. We're talking about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Sarah Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start off with this. League sources, according to Mark Stein, say that the Lakers continue to scour the trade market in hopes of acquiring a two-way wing with size before the February 5th trade deadline. And listen, that's what the Lakers need around Luka. I mean, this team the Lakers have already stated that, they started reshaping the roster around Luka. They plan to continue that. And why not? Why wait till the offseason if you can at the trade deadline? The Lakers have been better than I at least have expected this season. And so, rather than wait till the offseason of 2026, the summer of 2026, why not get the jump start on it now if you can? Now, the West is going to be difficult with the Thunder in the West, but the Lakers are right there in the number 3 seed. They're 25-11 on the season. And while I still think, Denver fully healthy is probably a better team, I do think the Houston Rockets, Minnesota Timberwolves can give them a run for their money. You want to try to solidify and strengthen yourself if you can, and that's what it is. This one also comes from Mark Stein and says this. It's believed that the Lakers are only going to sacrifice their protected financial flexibility in the summer, which is expected to furnish them with the ability to make significant roster changes only if they can acquire a real needle mover at that position. Will such a player become available over the next 4 weeks and change? Some of the reported interests are, from the Pelicans, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, who I think either one of those guys can play with Luka. I think if you're talking about a defensive wing with size, that's kind of Herb Jones. Like, he's the one that fits that the most. Not to say that Trey Murphy's necessarily a terrible defender. His on-ball numbers are pretty good. His on-off numbers aren't necessarily great, but that could definitely help the Lakers as well. So hearing that the Lakers are planning to be buyers of sorts at the trade deadline, it doesn't surprise me. And they do have that financial flexibility. And so basically, if they can acquire somebody now that they would probably be willing to acquire with that space anyway in the summer of 2026, it makes some sense for them to go ahead and make that move and acquire that guy. So look out for the Lakers. There are a number of things like going on around the trade deadline that can really, change the outlook of a few things. You think about the teams that are looking for point guards, think about some of the point guards that could be available, all that type of stuff. The Lakers are trying to make their move. And with Luka, playing the way that he's playing, putting up the numbers that he's playing, DeAndre Ayton being, more good than bad, I would say, for that team, they're looking to still make some moves and acquire some things. And, we'll see what the future holds for that Lakers team. With that said, moving on from that to a former Laker, we had talked about last week how the Hawks were reportedly one of the teams that could be interested in Anthony Davis. Well, now Mark Stein is actually backing down off that, saying there is currently no meaningful traction between the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks over at Anthony Davis trade. The Hawks' willingness to acquire Davis could also depend on whether the team can move Trey Young's salary. With the Mavs looking for expiring deals, young assets, and picks, Young would not be a part of the deal between the two teams. The Hawks reportedly would be willing to part ways with Zaccharie Risacher in the right deal, though Mark Stein adds that the move for Davis would not meet those requirements. So they're not looking to move the number one pick in Zaccharie Risacher in an Anthony Davis trade. They are interested and open to moving him, but only in the right deal. Makes some sense there, right? The Dallas Mavericks don't want Trey Young back, which makes some sense there. So that could make the maneuver of getting Anthony Davis to the Atlanta Hawks a little bit more difficult. You have to see which sides comes down off their offer. If a third team gets involved for Trey Young, which can make it more interesting, if those sides end up coming. But as it stands right now, Mark Stein kind of backing down off his initial, reporting that maybe the Hawks could be a suitor for Anthony Davis. Seems like that may now be going by the wayside just because of the financial situation. They do not want Anthony Davis if they cannot shed themselves of Trey Young's salary. So, those two things could be linked and seem like they are linked according to Mark Stein, if that is to be believed. And we just got to see what's going to come out of it. So, those are two of the bigger names that are out there reportedly at the trade market with Trey Young, Anthony Davis. There are reports of some other teams, other names that could be involved. are open. And I just think that this trade deadline, like after the January 15th, which one of the teams that I'd be willing to bet, wholeheartedly makes a trade is the Golden State Warriors, because I think Jonathan Kuminga is on his way out of there one way or another. But, outside of those moves, I do think, there are some other names that are going to be moved. And this trade deadline, as teams are trying to position and posture and get ready for the postseason, we shall see what's going to happen there. But let me know what you guys think down below on that. Anthony Davis, does he end up with Atlanta? Does Atlanta eventually move Trey Young, or do they go a completely different route and maybe package Trey and Risacher for even bigger fish? I don't know what that fish would be, but maybe it's a possibility there. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, I want to talk about Bleacher Report's list of the most overrated players in the NBA. They named 5 of the players. Some I agree with. Some I kind of was shocked to be here. At number 1, though, came in at LaMelo Ball, came in at number 1. And they said this: compiling a list of overrated players is tough. It's not a where do I even begin kind of task. That's because Ball perpetually runs away with the top spot thanks to a gargantuan gap between how fans perceive him and how he can actually impact team success. If you guys watch me over on Locked On NBA, which I do with Matt Moore and Wes Goldberg every single day, Monday through Friday, you will know that Matt Moore has been talking about LaMelo Ball and how he does not contribute to winning. And, it really took him to say that for it kind of opened my eyes to it, and now I look at LaMelo Ball differently as well. But, the Bulls just played the Hornets not too long ago, and LaMelo Ball in that game just took some, just to be quite frank, some dumbass shots. And it was early in the shot clock, off-balance shots, like the wide-open ones he missed, some of the difficult ones he made. It was this weird thing, but I do think LaMelo is this player that, like, can he help win? Sure, but I think you need somebody to teach LaMelo Ball how to win. He's been in a situation with a completely dysfunctional organization in Charlotte that hasn't really known how to build an actual winning team in quite a while. And you look at it like, yeah, LaMelo can shoot the lights out. I even think LaMelo has potential to be a really good defender. He just doesn't take as much, pride on that end like his brother Alonzo Ball does. But I think overall, like right now, I would have to agree with that. LaMelo Ball is hugely overrated when you look at how the fans view him versus what his winning is, how he contributes to winning, how he even plays, and just his overall basketball IQ. I'm sorry, LaMelo Ball is just not that smart of a basketball IQ player as far as making the winning play. Can he take a player off a dribble? Can he do some crazy and one move and make it look flawless? Yeah. When it comes down to winning, I do agree that there are some concerns there with LaMelo Ball. Number 2, Paolo Banchero. Now, this is the one that I was surprised to see on this list. You look at Paolo, how the team has won with him, how he plays at times, and I'll say this one, right? You do have to look at the team, the team success or lack thereof. Now, Paolo's been hurt. Franz has been hurt. Like, injuries have been a thing with that Magic team around it, but it's not like the Orlando Magic have not tried to make upgrades. Getting Desmond Bane was trying to get upgrade to this team, right? Now, I do think that you're seeing Paolo Banchero start learning to be more selective in the way that he scores his offense, which is really good. And, that's fine. But I think Paolo, too, is a player that he just needs to grow as a shooter. And I get it that he's around the rim. He's going to, feed off point guards a lot. But and I don't even necessarily just mean three-point shooter. I just mean as a shooter, even in the mid-range, Paolo needs to be better. And that's the place where you need to be as a player, right? Like, you get to the place where you're young and you're ascending and you start getting all this love, all these accolades and stuff like that. You need to get to take that last step to really become that player that can put a team on his back and at least guide them to the playoffs or win a playoff series. And I can't deny that we haven't seen that yet from Paolo Banchero as far as getting to that level. There's no doubt he's a great talent, and I still have my issues with him being on this list. I don't think he's one of the top 5 most overrated players in the NBA. But if I am looking at the reason why they put him on this list, I can understand it. I don't agree, but I can understand certain things that can be pointed out about Paolo Banchero's game to where he needs to be better to really get his team to the next level. And he is a player that they are building the team around, and therefore it comes with a different level of expectations and circumstances around you. And so in that case, I can see some things. I just don't agree with him being on this list this soon, yet he's 23 years old. We don't see players sometimes make their leap until 23, 24 years old. So I have a little bit of a struggle He just turned 23 in November as well. Have a little bit of a struggle with putting him on there, but maybe that's just I love Paolo Banchero as a player, so maybe that's just my own affinity for him. Next up, Jared McCain. Now, it's weird putting a second-year player here, in my opinion. Like, Jared McCain would have probably won Rookie of the Year last year if it wasn't for his injury, and he came into a situation that drastically changed with them getting VJ Edgecombe, which changed his role. He's now part of that 76ers team that is really just, they're very so perimeter driven. They had a couple of games with Paul George and Joel Embiid playing in the same game, which is great there. But to put Jared McCain on a list of overrated players is a little bit like he's in his second year. He's averaging less than 10 points per game. He's played 24 games. That's one more than what he played last season at 23. Understand all that. The 15.3 points per game that he averaged last year, he's nowhere near that. He's half of that. But there's been so much that has changed on this team, and maybe the role that's changed is going to be better for him when he actually needs to, because this is a winning team. Now, of course, he's an undersized, scoring first guard, which brings some issues. He's not a dynamic playmaker by any stretch of the imagination. He averages a career 2.2 assists and 1.3 turnovers, so it's not like he's that type of player either. And the season hasn't been good for him. I don't want to gas it like he's been good this season. He's shooting 35% from the field, 32% from three, both lower than his rookie year. But I just think it's too soon to put a second-year player in Jared McCain as one of the most overrated in the NBA. So you mean to tell me in two partial seasons, he hasn't even played a full 82 games. He's played 47 games so far, so a little over half a season's worth. He's become one of the most overrated players in the entirety of the NBA. That just doesn't seem right to me, man. But let me know what you guys think on his place on the list here. Next up, Jonathan Kuminga. Now, this is an interesting one, right? Because it depends on how you view it. Because Jonathan Kuminga is a player that clearly doesn't fit in with what they want him to do in Golden State. He hasn't had a coach that's really believed. Steve Kerr has not really believed in Jonathan Kuminga. And I do think Kuminga is going to have some suitors. He's one of the few names that I almost would be willing to guarantee he's going to be moved at the trade deadline. Somebody's going to take a shot at Jonathan Kuminga. And I do think you could see, I don't want to say Laurie-esque. Well, I will say Laurie-esque, but not to the echelon of Laurie. But I do think when he goes to a situation, he's able to have things go through him. I think there's some different things that could go there for him as far as we've seen him when he is able to be a high-usage player and how he can put up points. No, I'm not saying that means that he's going to be a player that you can build a team around or anything like that. But, he's still very young, very, very young at that point. Hasn't really had his development prioritized because of the team that he was drafted to and the state of that team. I just don't know if I agree with him being on this list. But let me know what you guys think down below. Last player coming in the top 5 is Michael Porter Jr. with the Brooklyn Nets. And here's the thing. Michael Porter Jr. is putting up amazing numbers, but on a losing team. And we've seen him, though, be able to put up good numbers on a winning team when he was with the Denver Nuggets and help that team win a title. So it's not I get it. I think that if you're looking in just the vacuum of this season, he may be overrated because I've seen some crazy comments both here and on Chicago Bulls Central about Michael Porter Jr. and people saying this is the real him now. Just put him a team, give him the ball and make him the number one. It's like, yeah, they did that basically in Brooklyn and look how many games they've won. So I have no doubt that he can contribute to winning. I have no doubt that he can be a part of a winning team, but he can't be the reason why you win, if that makes sense. He can't be just what you're built around. And it makes some sense that the Brooklyn Nets are going to probably look to move him. It makes sense that if another team does want to take a shot at him, but he does have a $38 million contract, which plays a huge role into that as well. That we'll have to see how it shakes out. But like I said, I understand Michael Porter Jr. being here for sure. And, him recently saying that when he got drafted, he thought he was going to be the best player in the league and all that type of stuff. And it's good to have that mentality. But, Michael Porter is a player that can fill it up. He can score. He can rebound. He can do a little passing. He can do a little bit of everything. But I don't think you want him to be your number 1 or your number 2 on the team. He could be a really good number 3. I think that. And I don't mean that as a slight because not everybody can be that. I think he can be that on a team. But if you really want to win and at a high level and possibly be a championship caliber team, Michael Porter Jr. can't be your number 1. That's just my personal opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys down below on the list as a whole. But that's going to be my time for today. I appreciate you guys as I do every single day. The trade deadline's coming. More narratives are going to start shifting with this. And this is a league that, as we know, it never gets boring. So we'll continue watching it as the trade deadline approaches and how that's going to go for these teams, how that's going to go for some names that are moved, all that type of stuff. Drop your thoughts down below on every topic that we have. Who's overrated? Who do you have as underrated, right? And what trades do you want to see happen as we lead into the trade deadline as well? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. If you want, you can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video, probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.